These are the materials you'll need for your next drawing assignment. Your board and parallel ruler, triangle, drafting dots, lead pointer, lead holder, lead, 3H is what I'd recommend, a 12-inch roll of white trace paper, and your architectural scale, just to be able to tear off your trace cleanly. Also, you'll need 2 copies of your subject plans. In this case, we have Philistine by Le Corbusier. One will be for reference because one you're going to tape down underneath trace paper and it will be difficult to see details. You'll start by taping down your paper. It doesn't really matter the orientation. A typical orientation for an architectural plan is the entry facing south, but in this case I'm going to tape this down in a landscape orientation so that it fits better on the camera. So you could assume that this was square, but let's just double check. When I set this against my parallel ruler, it's not quite square. So what I'll do is I will align the longest edge available with my triangle that's seated on my parallel ruler, and I will tape it down relative to that, rather than the edge of paper versus the parallel ruler. Next, we are going to put a piece of tracing paper over the top. Make sure you get past the edges of the 8.5 by 11 paper underneath. I'll ask you to extend the grid we're going to draw to at least to the edge of paper, if not a little bit past. And we will tear off our trace using the best technique, which is putting your architect's scale in there and tearing off in one clean motion. The next step is to draw a vertical and horizontal line through every intersection, every vertex in the drawing. So that would mean anywhere 2 lines cross, you'd want to pick up all 4 sides of objects, so this here. And the best way to do this is just basically be like a machine and take all of your horizontal lines through, make sure they all go past, run past the edge of the envelope and out to the edge of the paper, and make sure you try to pick everything up. There will be some things that you can ignore, such as these arrows in the middle of stairs are just a notational item. They're not there in actuality, so these you can ignore. The swing at the door you can ignore, but do pick up the edges of the opening. This just represents the way that a door opens. It doesn't mean there's a fixed element at 30 or 45 degrees. Also, this one doesn't have it, but if there's a north arrow, which is a circle with a kind of a slash pointing north, you can ignore those as well. Okay, let's give it a shot. And now I'll take a closer look to make sure I got everything. And notice I have my reference plan here because the one underneath the trace is a little bit blurred out. A couple things to point out. This dashed line here represents an edge of a balcony above. We don't need to pick up the edges of those because, again, that's a notational layer. It is physical, but it's above you. And then you notice I didn't do anything with this line here at the middle of the stairs, and I didn't worry about defining every tread edge for the stair, because what's really important at the stair is the top, where it lands at the landing, where it lands at the floor below, and where it lands above. So we're just picking up the top and bottom of the stairs and any landings, but we're not worried about picking up every tread because that's not really part of the structure of the plan. I do notice that there are mullions at the windows. Oops. Right there that I did not pick up. But I'll do those in short order. You should treat this portion of the exercise as an opportunity to see what things align. So as you draw that line, think about which things are in the same category. Like you may not have understood that the edge of this cabinet aligned with this thickened, probably partial height low wall here. Oops, the edge of that. But the line drawn across tells us that those align. So that's an exercise in hopefully seeing something new in the plan as well as drawing those lines through. All right, I'll pick up those missing mullion lines at the windows, and then we'll do our verticals. So we're left with an orthogonal grid of lines, vertical and horizontal, that's weighted to the areas of density of activity in the plan. So for example, in these areas where there are more things going on, you have more lines gridding that stuff out. And then in places like this open space, there are fewer elements, so you have less density. Inherently, there's some choices you need to make, and I would say in terms of what you do show and what you don't. For example, there are some lines like 3 lines, I think, here in the reference image in this area. If we got every single one of those lines, you might actually not have any space left between lines to fill in. So as long as you picked up probably the smallest increment would be like the 2 lines on the side of these walls, for example, like here.